If we could talk to the animals, learn all their languages, maybe take an animal degree. If I conferred with our furry friends, man to animal, think of the amazing repartee. If I could walk with the animals, talk with the animals, grunt and squeak and squawk with the animals, and they could talk to me.
Hello and welcome to Pet Watch, a monthly program about the Williamson County Animal Control and Adoption Center. I'm Debbie Sims and I'll be your host today, and my special guest today will be Randall Brown. Welcome, Randall.
Thanks for having me, Debbie.
You're welcome. Randall is one of our animal control officers, as you can tell by his uniform. It may be a part of Williamson County Animal Control that the public has never seen, which would probably be a good thing if they haven't seen you. Randall works in the enforcement side. We spend a lot of time talking about adoption on this program, and there are a number of laws that need to be enforced in the county, a number of which can be found in this little regulation booklet, which is also on the county's website. Randall, share with us what is the most common call that you get as an animal control officer.
As an animal control officer, I mean, you get a variety of calls that come into the office, but we do spend a lot of time running at large calls. That's probably your most common call that we get. And it just simply means that someone's dog has wandered off property and is now running in the streets or on another person's property. So we do get a lot of calls for that. So, you know, we spend a lot of time patrolling the streets of the county, and we find them on our own as we're out patrolling around, and we'll find a dog that's at large.
Right.
Or in certain circumstances, we'll find livestock that's at large. It's a little bit bigger thing to have to deal with because it's not as easy as a dog or a cat. But, you know, probably running at large call is your most common call that you get.
Now, why is that a problem? What are the laws in the county as far as confining your pets?
Well, the county has, as you showed the ordinance book, there's a state law that deals with animals at large, and the animal has to stay confined or in the custody and care of the owner or the person who is in charge of that animal at the time, and that's where your animal at large call and laws fall. Mm-hmm. The animal at large, I mean, it's if you read the state law, I mean, it's a pretty in-depth part of the annotated code for the state.
Right.
But I mean, the animal at large is probably the more common offense that we deal with on the street.
And our county population is concentrated in neighborhoods with families and children, and we do still have a large rural population, but most of our animal at large calls come from subdivisions.
Correct.
There are a lot of repeat offenders out there.
There are.
It is important for people in the county to know that you are responsible for keeping your pet confined, and if you don't, it can be reported by another citizen that sees your dog. And it's important for people to remember to have their dog information either embedded in a microchip in their pet so it can be returned quickly from our office. Right. Because if we can't identify it, we can't find you to tell you we have your dog.
Correct. And you know, the county has a policy that we hold your animal for 7 days. Mm-hmm. And after that 7th day, it becomes county property. And after it goes through the test that animal control provides to that animal, will go up for adoption, as long as everything checks out, you know, okay on the animal. Mm-hmm. But you did mention a good point about the microchip. I mean, that's a very important thing to have. Not only to have the microchip, but to have the microchip registered back into the person's name that owns it. On top of the state law requiring you to display a rabies tag on the dog, that's another way for us to track the animal back to the owner.
Right, so the dog needs to have tags, it needs to have current rabies. Correct. An owner ID tag with a phone number is helpful.
Would be ideal.
If you don't have a microchip. And the ones that we can't identify and no one comes in looking for them, if you're out of town for more than 7 days, your animal could be put through our system We spend a lot of money giving that animal vaccinations, which it may have already had.
We do.
So those are not necessary and could be avoided. So many of the problems and situations that you do come across could be avoided.
They could.
If people would obey the law. Let's get beyond our roaming dogs for a second and talk about another common call that you get or we get at the shelter, and it filters down to an officer. And there are 3 people that do your job currently in Williamson County. Is I see a skunk. I'm in the parking lot of a store, or I am trying to get in my office building, and there's a skunk in the flower bed. Now, what happens on a skunk call? Because they are so common. I'm there one day a week, and I know there's always been a skunk call every Thursday. I don't know how many you guys do, but what is the procedure there?
Well, skunks are not fun to go on.
No.
You know, majority of the skunk calls that we do get are trap skunks. So it's, again, when you get that call, you hope that you go out there and leave smelling the same way that you that you arrived at the house. We go out and we lay a sheet or a towel or a garbage bag over the trap just to protect us. Not that the animal could get to us, but simply for the pleasant smell that they can leave you with.
Yeah, this is for a skunk that someone has called about and gotten a trap and has trapped. Okay.
Yep. We'll hit that one. You know, we pick up the trap, we put it on our truck, and we take it back to the shelter. For the ones that are just roaming, you know, and we do occasionally get calls of, hey, I'm trying to get into my office, there's a skunk in the flower bed, or I was out gardening this morning, saw a skunk in my backyard. My recommendation on that would be to come and rent a trap from us, or go buy your own trap and trap the animal. Once you trap a skunk, then you call us, and then we come out and pick that wildlife
Okay, and you take care of it and take it away from the property.
We will,
and
yes,
follow
ma'am.
the state law on that. So remember that. But if a skunk's living in a ditch by some store, there's not a whole lot we can do.
There's not. I mean, and you know what? They're wildlife, and they're scavengers, and another common thing with skunks is the daylight. People panic when they see a skunk in the daylight. Is it uncommon? Sure. Does it mean something is wrong with the animal? Not always.
Right.
You know, there's a common myth out there that, oh, I saw a skunk in the daylight, it must be rabid. You know, that's not always the case. I mean, there might be something medically wrong with it. Doesn't always mean it's a rabies carrier. But my recommendation would be, you know, to get a trap and trap that animal. If you're in a legal position to do it, it has to be on your property.
Right.
To trap that wildlife. You can't just go up to Walmart and set a trap next to the building because you saw a skunk. I mean, there are licensing that you have to have that would fall under the Tennessee wildlife jurisdiction. So.
And all those skunks are known to be one of the common rabies carriers. We haven't had a case, I think one case in this county in years.
It's been a little while.
One corner of the county years ago. But since they are known carriers, the state requires that the skunk be examined. So we follow those procedures, and that's one way of tracking whether the skunks in the area are rabid.
Right.
And the danger there, of course, we've gone over this before on this program, is that your dog or cat could come in contact with a skunk that is rabid.
Right.
And if your dog or cat is not vaccinated, then they could contract the disease and spread it to your family rather quickly.
Correct.
So it doesn't have to be direct contact with a rabid skunk or wild animal. It can be through a dog, a stray dog,
Very
your
well
dog
could be.
if your dog's not protected. So it's not fun to go through, and it's something that can be easily avoided.
It could.
So people should keep an eye out for the skunks and follow the procedure. And most times people find themselves, I know, in a situation they really don't know what the next step is, and the best thing is to call animal control.
It is, and we'll give the best information that we can based off the knowledge that we have. I mean, we like you said earlier, we have 3 officers for the county, and at times we do get stretched thin, but all the officers are well knowledged on just about every call that we go on.
Right,
so.
right, and sometimes you guys have to work together.
And we do. Yep.
You talk about livestock. I know a friend of mine ran across a large amount of livestock that had gotten loose in the south part of the county, and it took a village to get them back in there.
I mean, it's just a whole nother arena. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't send one person to catch 5 cows,
Right.
just because that cow's not going to do what you want it to do. So it's
Right.
better to go in force.
Right.
Just for public safety reasons too.
Right. What about other wild animals, like people who have squirrels or raccoons munch a hole through their siding and get in their attic? I mean, we get calls like that,
We
don't
do get calls like that. Unfortunately, we don't really respond unless your safety is in harm. I mean, if you called and said, "Hey, I opened my pantry and there's a raccoon asleep in the corner," at that point, I mean, you're in harm's way at that time. I mean,
Yeah.
you just because that animal is cornered, and when you deal with TWRA, there's only 2 officers for the state and the county, and they might be stretched thin as well.
And
so
let's tell people what that is.
that's
too.
the Tennessee Wildlife Resources. They're the game wardens,
Okay.
better known, and we have a very close relationship with them, just
Right.
because we are kind of in the same
The
business.
lines cross between
They-
domestic animals and wild animals.
Right. So going back to the wildlife in a house, I mean, we really have to assess the situation of is someone's life in danger, or
Gotcha.
could it potentially be in
Right.
danger? Then we will assist. We'll go out and help them. But if a squirrel has chewed through your siding and got into your roof, a lot of times we will direct them to a nuisance wildlife trapper.
Right.
There are a handful of those in the area, just because that's more of what you're trying to do. I mean, you're trying to remove that wildlife from your house, and it's more of a nuisance than it is a danger to you.
Right. One more common incident is a dog bite. Sometimes it's the person who's bitten that calls, and sometimes it's the person who owns the animal
Correct.
who's wondering what's going to happen to them.
Right.
What is your advice for anyone who is bitten or has a pet that bites a neighbor?
Well, my recommendation is you always want to get the bite taken care of medically, regardless of how minor or severe the bite may be. I mean, you need to get medical attention because animals carry bacteria in their mouth.
Right.
You just never know the severity of the bite. So you get that bite treated. And normally, typically, if you go to the ER or go to a walk-in clinic, they're going to contact animal control. If you choose not to do that, I still recommend calling animal control just so we can have the bite on history.
Right.
We can start a history on it. And when you call us, it's best to have as much information on the animal, on the owner, the area where the bite occurred at, so that we can start our investigation, or we
Right.
can start our procedures of quarantining an animal. I mean,
Right.
we do, if someone is bit, we do require quarantine.
So your job is to go out to the owner and locate that animal.
Correct.
And say a bite has been reported and we need to quarantine your animal. I had a personal incident with this, and that's the point where you need to produce
Right.
your rabies vaccination and your veterinary records.
Correct.
So that's why it's important to have all those vaccinations up to date,
Yep.
so that you don't find yourself in a situation that you could have avoided.
Absolutely.
Accidents do happen. Dogs will nip people, and they're not necessarily bad dogs, but there is a procedure to follow. So it's best to be upfront about it and honest with you when you come out and deal with the citizen, because we're trying to protect everybody.
Right.
Right.
I mean, we're not out there. We're not going to throw the book at you if your dog bit somebody. But I mean, you have to look at the safety and health of the person that was injured,
Right.
Because you don't want that to come back 6 months down the road and get you. I mean,
Right.
you should just.
And
you're gonna get in more trouble if you
Sure.
avoid it.
Sure.
Than just stepping
And the
up
advent of
facing it.
electronic fences for dogs has changed things a little bit, and people need to investigate that with their own homeowners insurance
Correct.
companies and their neighborhood associations. If their dog is in electronic fence in the front yard, that doesn't mean a child can't still walk through and your dog could get there.
Doesn't mean that battery won't go dead in that
That's
collar
right.
and they run off.
Well, we're going to take a break right now, and then we'll be back with Randall and talk some more about some of the situations he comes across as an animal control officer in our county, and some of the events that are coming up for Williamson County Animal Control. back to Pet Watch. We're with Randall Brown, who's one of our animal control officers. In the first part of our show, we were talking about enforcing the laws in the county and the most common things that happen every day, like dogs roaming at large and such. And we're protecting the public from roaming animals, basically. But sometimes we come across situations where we're actually protecting the animal in a difficult situation with an owner. This could range from a hoarding situation in which animals are not receiving the care and shelter that is required, and it could also just basically be a case of animal abuse. And those things do occur in our county. We don't like to dwell on those, but we had a situation with you that turned out in a very positive way in the end. Right. When you accidentally came across an animal in distress. Tell us about the dog named Queen that has now become sort of infamous at the shelter because it turned out so well. Tell us how you met Queen.
Well, I was actually out on another call at the neighbor's house to Queen, conducting another investigation, and I just happened to look over the fence, and what I thought was a dog laying in kind of just some unsanitary conditions. So I quickly ended my investigation with the house that I was at, and went around to where Queen was at. And I spoke with with an adult in the house and let them know what I was there for, and went back there and she was just so underweight. I mean, she in reality needed to be a 40, 50-pound dog. And just by the looks of her, I was overwhelmed at the fact that how emaciated and skinny she was. So we ended up taking the dog into our custody, which turned into a legal battle in the courts. I mean, not a battle, but we went through the justice system of we cited the owner and for cruelty to animals, and she came to live with us for a small amount of time. We animal control, our kennel staff and our veterinarian, we were able to nurse her back to good health, and she quickly started putting on the weight, probably a little bit more weight than she should. So then we had to back off the feeding to drop a few pounds from her. But she eventually, after the court date, she became custody and property of animal control, and we were able to find her forever home, and she was adopted. We just recently, in the last couple of weeks, we got an email from the owner with a picture of how she's pretty much just taken over the house. So, there are circumstances and situations, and they're not fun calls to go on. I mean, number one, if I show up to your house or the other two officers show up to your house, we're not there to have tea. We're not there to chit-chat with you. We're there for a reason. And I don't think anybody likes the situation if you're called out and you actually do find a cruelty situation taking place, or a neglect case. It's not a fun situation because we're here to be a voice for the animals.
Right.
We're here to protect the animals. Sometimes, like you said, it's protecting the animal from the owner. And sometimes in instances that we found out, it's an education thing. I mean, the owner, somebody gave them this dog, or they bought this dog because they wanted a companion.
Right.
And then they're just overwhelmed, and they just forget the fact that there are requirements in the state law that there are minimal standards that you have to meet to.
And it takes a bit of money to care for an animal properly.
Yep.
And sometimes it's better in these situations to go in and find out. And if they say, well, my mother's in the hospital, I can't get over here, she's not going to be able to keep this dog, that's fine. We will find it a home.
Right.
So we don't want to see the animal control officer come to our house. But if they do, we need to understand that just like our government agencies protect children,
correct,
we have to protect animals as well. And hoarding's another situation we run across occasionally in the county. People get overwhelmed from not spaying and neutering dogs and cats and not having the money, or not having the desire to provide the proper shelter, and in those cases we go through the legal system. So you're familiar with the courts, and not every call you go on ends up in court. Most of them resolved right on the spot. A little reminder for people, what are you going to do? I'll be back next week to see if you've done it, that kind of thing. So people need to remember, don't fear reporting abuse. If you knew Queenie was there before that, if a citizen had seen that dog, they could have made a call to our office and alerted us to that. So we encourage people to do that. And sometimes you do come across accidentally, and that was a great accident to happen, because I've seen the before and after for her, and it's amazing. So we love those success stories. Some of the things that you do in the community is occasionally go out with us on our adoption events or go into schools. Our animal control officers are available to do that, to teach young children the responsibility of pet ownership, are they not?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And a lot of times it starts with the kids. You know, if you can instill proper animal care to a child, just like my kids, I learn a lot from my kids. And I'm sure other parents are the same way. So you want to instill that in them at a young age. What it takes to feed and water your animal, to take it for walks, to clean up the messes that it makes. And you know, it's fun to go out and see the kids. You know, they get a rise out of your uniform and the lights and the sirens on your truck. I mean, they love that, and it's fun to go out and mingle with the kids and mingle with the public. And you know, because a lot of time, and I was very surprised at this, there's a lot of people who do not know who we are. You know, they look at the old days of we're just a dog catcher, where we've evolved
way beyond that.
I mean, we're doing criminal investigations. We're doing, you know, criminal seizures from hoarding situations.
And then the next day you might be doing a public relations type function. So
we're not bad people. I mean, and you know, we don't like to come across as that in the field, but you know, there's times where we have to put a different hat on while we're in the field so that the public will take us serious.
Sure. It's like a police department and the fire department. Part of your job is prevention and informing the public and educating, and part of it's enforcing. So it's like being a parent. Sometimes it's all cuddly and warm and everything's fine, and then other times you're the disciplinarian. So, you know, I think it's, you guys do an excellent job of making our community aware that you are a friend and a force, a positive force in the community. And anything you do in enforcement is a positive move, because it is for the welfare of the animals that are in danger. Now, you've got this dog named Copper.
I do.
Right? And 2 kids.
I actually have 3 kids.
3 kids, okay. And Copper is kind of a, what I've seen.
He's an odd concoction. He's a probably a Beagle Basset mix. So he's a little bit of an odd concoction.
And you know, you ran into a situation when you were on vacation, and I wanted to bring that up because people who arrange for care for their animals when they're out of town, like from a neighbor or a friend, need to have Plan B. And you ran across that when the person who was taking care of your dog while you were gone
bailed on me.
Suddenly bailed on you, and Copper ended up living in the animal control director's office for the rest of your vacation.
He did. He had
his own little hotel in there, and he was really cute and really funny.
He's definitely a good dog. I mean, you know, and the same circumstances that came up on me happened to people in the
all
public,
the time.
and you know, it's just always to have an out. Or a Plan B if that situation comes up.
And if your dog gets loose and you're gone for a week and a half, and it doesn't have an ID on it, and there's no contact at the address that we can reach. If we do have a microchip, that animal could go through adoption. We don't want that to happen.
No.
So
and we've had instances where people's dog have gotten loose while they were on vacation, and it shows up, and then 2 weeks later they come back from vacation. Hey, we're missing our dog. Does it come through? And fortunately, the dog has still been there. And we were able to return the dog back to them. I mean, we have had those instances, not very much, but on occasion.
I know, and I've seen that happen, and I would say, word of advice to the caretaker: here's the plan. If the dog gets loose, here's what you are to do and how to get it back for me.
Yeah, you should always start contacting us, if your animal comes up missing,
Yeah.
start with, let us be your first phone call.
Right.
Because we have a huge animal support system throughout the county.
Right.
And we have a lot of contacts. We have a Facebook page, and we post a lot of things there.
Right.
And on our county website.
Right.
And if your dog is missing, you report it lost, and then we have the information. If it comes in, then we
Sure.
can reunite you back
Yeah,
with your animal.
we try to play the match game with
Yep.
the lost and the found and the missing.
Yep.
So thank you for being my guest today.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it, and I hope people, when they see you out in the county, will give you a wave and thank you for all that you do. And if they have any questions about how to take care of their pets and what the laws are, they can call the shelter, and we'll be happy to inform them as to where the laws are on the county website and ask you a question. That would be fine. We have a lot of things coming up at Animal Control and Adoption Center in October. Our 90-day no-cost rescue group adoptions continue through the end of October. That's where any authorized nonprofit rescue group in the county can come and rescue any animal for free and take it into their own care. That's been a great success, so we're in 60 days into it now. And we also have a promotion for adoptions in October. It's called the $31 Days of October. All adoptions for dogs, cats, puppies, kittens are $31 in the month of October at all our remote events and at our shelter. We also have several special events we'll be appearing at. We have a mobile adoption center that will be going out to the Barktoberfest celebration at Animalia, which is a animal health and wellness veterinary clinic. It's located right in front of the West Haven community on 1973 Highway 96. That'll be on Saturday, October 12th. We hope you'll come out. That's presented by Nashville Paw Magazine, and you can find more about the other activities that'll be occurring during Barktoberfest at NashvillePaw.com. On the 19th of October, we'll be at the Mars Pet Care Adoption Fair in Cool Springs. That's at the Mars office building at the corner of Cool Springs Boulevard and Aspen Grove Drive. Then on the 23rd of October, we're very excited. That's a Wednesday. All three Chili's restaurants in Williamson County will be having a Chili's Give Back Day. And from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., all the operating hours at the Chili's at Cool Springs, Brentwood, and Spring Hill will be giving a percentage of their profits to the Animal Control and Adoption Center in Williamson County. You will need a flyer in your hand or a copy of the flyer on your phone to participate and give back. So we'll be putting that flyer on our Facebook page. We'll be putting it on the county website. So be sure and copy the flyer and eat at Chili's on Wednesday, October 23rd to benefit the Animal Control and Adoption Center. And then on the 26th, when Pumpkin Fest is going on in downtown Franklin, that's also a Saturday, we will be set up at the 5 Points area in front of the County Museum and Archives with a remote adoption event. So October is going to be busy. Remember, all adoptions are $31 during the 31 days of October. And I'd also like to mention, if you want to be a volunteer, go to our website, which is adoptwcac.org. And at the top, you'll see a connection that says Volunteer Online. There you can find out about the next volunteer training class and read about some of the options that our volunteers can choose from. We depend on them every day for walking our dogs, socializing with our cats, and they're so valuable to the shelter, but we can always use more. If you'd like to adopt, please come to one of our events or come by the shelter. We're at 106 Claude Yates Drive, right next to Franklin High School. We're open for adoptions Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday from 11 to 3. We also have a free spay-neuter program for the community. So call us if you have questions about any of these activities, and friend us on Facebook. Our number is 790-5590. Thank you for watching Pet Watch, and I hope you have a wonderful October.
If we could talk to the animals, learn all their languages, maybe take an animal degree. If I conferred with our furry friends, man to animal, think of the amazing repartee. If I could walk with the animals, talk with the animals, grunt and squeak and squawk with the animals,